my name is Carol Bidault, and I am producer of The Curse of the Crybaby. And I'm here today with Keith Carter, the writer and inspiration behind not only The Curse of the Crybaby, but that little figurine that's right there with the 3D glasses is his Orlok.
I was trying to find
And he made a very interesting 3D version of Nosferatu, the classic silent film. So let's get started today. Oh, that's right. Oh my gosh, you see, all of you can buy, this is merchandising, and all of you can yes. We'll put up all that information later on for all of you, but for the moment, let's talk about The Curse of the Crybaby. And maybe, Keith, can we take off these masks? I think we're not going to be contaminating anybody.
I'm trying to keep socially distance from people.
I know. You're always socially distanced. You're far away, but let's try to.
And I know we're using this new modern thing called computers.
Okay. So Keith, tell us how you came up about with all the Crybaby, The Curse of the Crybaby. What was the process in creating it and writing it?
In case the people who are watching this don't realize this, she's really in the next room. I don't know why she doesn't want to do face to face. I mean, this is an illusion. She's right next door, so I don't know what this is all about, but we'll run with this, okay? We'll run. Carol, yeah, okay. He's in another one. Okay. So, Carol, what is your question? Who's in there?
How did you write the script?
Okay.
Amazing that you wrote the script, but anyway, so how did you write? What was the inspiration behind it? And what was the process, and how did we get to where we are today?
So I guess I was recounting, I finished it 6 years ago, because I remember I just moved to North Carolina, and I actually had called you because I wanted you to look at it and help me figure out some legal things about it. But anyway, my uncle, who is the head of the Coharie Commission here, the Native American Commission here in Clinton, North Carolina, he asked me one day, would it be possible, or is there anything that I could do, with my talents to bring the Coharie people to, to the forefront, to generate some interest, some stories, etc. And of course, I didn't know. I know that some of my other friends have talked about wanting me to do some shows, art, and so forth. And so anyway, I had been wanting to do another film project, but I didn't really know what I could write about concerning the Coharie people, because I never really, even though that was my, it's my lineage, I never really followed like some of my family, it's very involved. But I do remember some of these old legends or folk tales that my grandparents used to talk about. And again, it was like a Bigfoot thing, but they called it the Crybaby. And so I had all these stories that my aunts, my uncles, and just everyone in that community, when they were kids, this is the things that they heard. Now, probably today with, the lights and everything, that we got street lights, which they didn't have those back in the day. So when it got night, it was really dark. And I'm sure it was probably a bobcat. And because a bobcat actually does sound like a baby crying, but because they could never see it, and this thing would walk around their house, I mean, they didn't know what this thing was. So their imaginations went wild. So they had all these great stories that they had as kids, and the parents would say things like, if you don't behave or get to bed soon, the crybaby's going to get you. And so the imagination just went haywire, I guess. But anyway, I remember thinking how much I thought those stories were very fascinating. And so I thought, well, this is one thing that draws me, because I had always had an interest in horror films. And so I started to put this thing together, this Crybaby legend, and try to embellish it to make it, more than just a Bigfoot thing, but I wasn't certain what that would be. And then I saw a movie that someone has suggested that was a horror film, but it had some spiritual overtones, and I thought, wow, that has much more depth in it. Gives you a reason to have the horror. So that's what I was looking for. So then I kind of married you know, this folk tale with Christian theology, then mix the horror genre, and that was kind of, guess, my inspiration to you know, make.
And what was that film, Keith?
Oh, it was the film The Exorcism of Emily Rose. I don't know if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It is a horror movie, but to me, it's almost like a spiritual film because the overtones are so strong. But at the end of the film, I guess I'm going to ruin it for you. The girl who's possessed, you know, because we know the Exorcism movie, the original one from '73, but they kind of, it was almost like the Exorcism meets Law and Order. So on one side of the case, they're trying to prove that the girl really was mentally unbalanced, and she had, you know, polar disorder. She had, you know, whatever these other things, and if she'd taken the proper medication, the proper treatment, she'd have been fine. But then the other side was trying to explain, no, this was a supernatural thing going on. So, but what it really brought it down to, either the spirit world exists, either God is real or he isn't. That was how they brought it down to. And so at the end, this girl, which actually was based on the story of this girl in Germany, she chose not to have the demons exorcised out of her. And they were like, well, why in the world would she not want these demons exorcised out of her? Because she says, in this day and age where no one believes that God exists, I'm going to show them that he's alive and real because I'm going to show them the devil. I thought, whoa, that's really good. And I thought, that's heavy. That's got something back behind it other than just horror. So that's kind of the thing that, you know, started making me think, well, how can I bring that to what I'm doing?
You know, when we were working on the script, I thought that what I always was amazed by the film is that although it has very, very strong, you know, it is a horror movie, it is a lot of fun, but there is a spirituality in it. And, you know, it does talk about the main character is a preacher, and how he tries to help this village get through, you know, you know, you're going to have to watch the movie, but shall we say these plagues that have hit this town. And but I really, what I loved about it, and everybody that worked on it really felt, you know, you don't have to be somebody who really believes in this faith or believes a lot. It really works on a lot of levels because most people, you know, just need, you know, the most important thing is community, and they need to feel supported, and they need to feel the love of a community. And I just thought that message of the Crybaby was really something that always drove me to want to do this and make sure that this got seen, because I think it's hard to see those movies. It's hard to find those movies where you do have those really good those feelings of community and values that are portrayed in the movie in a fun way. And also I think that what we should say to our audience is that you know, your background is in animation, and the Crybaby is going to be both, it's a mixed media, it's going to be both animation and live action. And that you know, I think that today there is a lot of movies that have that are being done, you know, feature films with very serious subjects that are being done in animation. And it's because I think that sometimes when you see animation, your own imagination goes wild. And so I think that it's, you know, it's something that I find pretty, you know, really interesting in the Crybaby. So,
well, you know, speaking of animation, I only feel like it's in an American audiences that kind of see animation that fits a specific genre. You know, when you think of things like, you know, the Disney stuff and the stuff that comes from Pixar. I mean, it's family oriented, it's very CGI heavy, but you know, when you look at the animated films that are made in Japan, the subject matter is all over the place. I mean, I
Right.
read about Japanese
Adult.
economics from a manga comic book
Right.
because
Right.
they see it as a legitimate form that talks about everything, not just, fantasy or superheroes. I mean, they cover
Or
everything.
just for children.
Yeah, it's not just for children, it's for everybody. And so I've kind of taken a lot of my cues and my inspiration from, the Japanese producers of these type of, projects and films.
Yeah, no, I'm really hoping that when people go to our website, and it'll be posted on this podcast.
The new website, I understand.
Yeah, and then they'll be able to see some sort of like a little bit of understanding on how this is going to be. There's a little teaser up there, and maybe we'll link to your website, and so that people can see what you do, because it's
and
really.
Actually, you're going to make this website a professional website this time. Is that correct? Yes, that'll be nice to see. Anyway, you got a professional website.
So anyway, yes, now you can see what I have to deal with, and but anyway, can we get back to our yes? So so when now when people see our movie once it's done, what do you really want audiences to walk away with? What is that overwhelming feeling and thought that that you really want to drive home to people?
That's a great question. And one of the movies I can liken it to an experience is when I recently saw, and you and I talked about this, the movie Social Networking. That movie has such good, intense storyline, intensity, emotion, and the subject matter and the information was just so overwhelming. It made me want to go and research and just, is that true? Did that really happen? And so what my hope is with The Curse of the Crybaby, though it's a fun film, though it's a horror film, there's a lot of spiritual truth in this. And I'm hoping that people see this and like, is that possible? Is that in the scriptures? Make them go look and do some research. Make them like, wow, gosh, can that happen? And I ain't saying that this is what we're producing here is going to happen, but it's our interpretation of a certain passage in the last book of the scriptures of the Bible. So that's my hope is people, get so hyped for it. It's like, no, there's no way. That's not in the Bible, Right. But anyway, those kind of movies just make you want a researcher to know they made that up.
Right. And I think that for me, it's sort of like when I saw The Exorcist for the first time. I was 12 years old when it came out. And so it was really, really scary to see this little girl that's basically my age and do all those crazy things. And, being a Catholic girl, I mean, it hit home, but at the same time, I saw people all in the audience that just like from all walks of life that just were so into it. And I think that when I read this script, I don't, I feel that you don't have to be this isn't like a Christian film, like maybe Ben-Hur or, those type of films. It's a very good story, and it talks about spirituality and there's like the signs of the apocalypse that come, and we all spent a lot of time trying to research exactly what are those signs that it actually could happen, because that's what the journey of the preacher is. The preacher is there, and he wants everybody to to come to church and things like that, but most of the time most people don't go, and they only go when they need to go, or when they're scared, and all of a sudden he's everybody's saying it's the signs of the apocalypse, and he's actually, of all the people, the most reticent of wanting to identify this as the apocalypse, because you know, if you just end up just, you know, making every day saying, you know, it's the end of the world, it's the end of the world, at one point people don't believe you. And he is a man, a true man of faith, but he is more than anything, he is a human being that cares about his people. And he's trying to show them a path, and it's just so much fun. I just, you know, just want to.
Well, you know, I mean, what you're saying is true, that though it's got Christian overtones, I wouldn't necessarily categorize it as a Christian film.
Right.
I mean, it's almost like, you know, there's movies. I did a short film that was based on a little tale in Greek mythology. And again, it's not like all of a sudden I'm doing Greek mythology, but that one little tale served my purpose. So, you know, because there's a lot of things that are in the Bible that actually are very scary. And I'm like, why can't we use some of these storylines here? I mean, because we pull from all kinds of resources in literature, you know, and even though Christianity is also, it's a faith, but it's also, you know, it's rich with history, it's rich with literature, it's rich with a lot of good tales to tell. And it doesn't necessarily have to feel like it's a Christian film or a spiritual film, but you can take those things and put them in something, and all of a sudden you got something that'll jump out at you. but you know, when you mentioned The Exorcist, it reminded me of something. Because when I was a kid, I was too young to see it, but when I finally saw it, man, I guess today it doesn't seem like nothing, but back then that was so horrific that I could not watch that thing and then go to bed and have that tape in my house or VHS in my house. I had to put it outside of my house because I couldn't let it be in the house while I was sleeping in the dark. And even now, I still can't own it in my house. It can't stay here now. If someone gave it,
do you put it in your garage?
If someone gave it to me as a gift, I would have to re-gift it because it couldn't even stay here. Yeah, I'd leave it outside. It couldn't stay in the house. Yeah, well, exactly.
I think that you know, all of this is that I think that the medium of film is very powerful, and that type of feelings that it emotes from us all, it really is sometimes why we go to a film and why we follow an artist, is because they're able to reach into our subconscious somehow and almost sometimes make us see some things that aren't on the screen. I mean, it's, you know, as a producer and have somebody who's done film festivals, sometimes you're showing films that are so powerful. People say, and I saw this, and you go, well, it wasn't even on the screen, but they felt it. It was in it. There was some subconscious triggers that the filmmaker gave. So,
well, I got to tell you this. Okay, so when I saw the Exorcism of Emily Rose, and again, that is nowhere to the level of the first Exorcist film, but it had its great moments. And the thing about that movie, and again, the filmmakers did their work really well, because for 5 nights it bothered my sleep. Now, let me tell you how it bothered my sleep. It wasn't, you know, just drastically in your face, but there was these little subtle things. Like there was this part when the demon enters the woman. It's like she's sleeping, and not when she was sleeping, her covers would slowly come off her body. And while I was in bed late, I kept looking at my covers if they were going to move off my body. And so I would get up to use the bathroom or whatever. And for some reason, I didn't like thinking about that movie while it was dark. And one night, I had to wait till the sun came up so I could actually relax again. But it took 5 nights for that movie to pass through my system. And when it was said and done, I said, those are some great filmmakers, because they got my sleep for 5 nights. They have done what? That means they did the work well.
For the price of a ticket, you couldn't sleep for 5 nights.
And I had this demon mask I used to, because I, you know, collect collectibles and stuff. And this demon mask I always thought was really cool. But during those 5 nights, when I looked at it, it looked evil. And why did I have to look at it every time it got dark? I have no idea. It was because of that movie. I said, why is that thing looking evil now? I don't know, but I didn't like it. So yes, those are some very strong filmmakers.
No, it's
I would be honored if I could keep people from sleeping from my work. Mr. Coharie, I can't sleep at all.
Well, you know what? For me, I think that you know, when I think about the Crybaby and your script that you've made, there are scary moments, you know, of course, but I actually come away feeling I have really good feelings. I have really those really like
Yeah, it's nothing to the level of an actress. No.
No, I just think that that also is a good movie, a movie that makes you feel good and makes you, because I think that right now there's just so much turmoil in the world that if I think a lot of people just want to go and feel good and laugh and also see things that are just so unusual. And I will say in the Crybaby, this is unlike anything you've ever seen. And I just think that it's a lot of fun.
And I have to say, I didn't really think it was all that unique to me, other until you started telling me about some people's feedback on the reading of it. But I guess I feel like today there's so many mixing of genres. I mean, I think that's all I did is I just took 3 genres and tried to put them together. But today it seems like anything goes. You can just throw anything out there now.
There's and that's kind of the beauty of what with COVID, and I think we've had to really find ourselves, and a lot of times you can find films that really would have never made it to the theater anyway, and they're really good. And I think that if you're interested in a subject, horror, animation, Christian films, or any of this, you'll find the Crybaby. And I think that's the power of today and the new media and the streaming and things like that. So
you'll find more variety of subjects than you would probably find at a movie theater.
You should be seeing right now on the screen the links to our social media, and you should also follow Keith's work. It's pretty amazing, and if you're in North Carolina, go knock on his door. You may scare him. He may think it's extra.
Yeah. I may not sleep for another 5 nights. If you want, it may. Yeah, I'm very tender. My mother told me that Friday days how tender I am.
Keith, where are you most happy? I guess the Proustian question is, when and where are you happiest?
Okay, I'll answer that once you tell me yours.
Wait a minute. I'm not. You're the subject of this, not me.
What makes you happy? When are you happy?
I think really honestly, when I'm happiest is when, I'm doing my work, but I'm also working with people like you. And we're not just a producer and a creative person. We're really together creating something that is so much better than either one of us could have done on our own. And I think that, to me, that's really, my goal in doing all of these very unusual, offbeat, films that just have a unique vision.
Okay, so that's when you're happiest. All right, so since you sent me the question earlier in the week, I thought about that. And 2 places. First one is, yes, when you're connected creative. When I have a good creative day and everything is lined up, everything has come together, and I can look at the art, whether it be print work or it's animation, whatever, and it really falls together, it's like, that satisfies me. And everything on the rest of the day goes good because I feel good inside. That's one of the happies. Number 2 is I found that in the evening, my wife and I, we like to watch television, in the evening. And we've been watching everything from Little House on the Prairie to, she loves BBC shows. So we're watching Downton Abbey, et cetera, and so on. So sometimes when the right dessert comes with the right cup of coffee and the right show's on and we're sitting there, I feel at peace as well. Now, if it's the wrong dessert, the coffee's a little wrong, yes, she's out of there. But usually I feel pretty good during those times when we have our little evening shows together.
Anyway, Keith, it's always fun to talk to you, and I hope that all of you will follow his work. It's really amazing, and thank you for doing this. Let's hopefully we'll be doing more to update everybody on the film. All righty, bye-bye. Stay safe, everybody. Always wear your mask. Wash your hands and be socially distant. Bye.
Is that, well, you know, I don't know. Since we're saying goodbye, my wife actually has me in the attic now for safe distance. Lowers the food down on the rope.